All right, if you're a web dev, you've totally been here. You kick off a brand new project, right? Everything's clean, your intentions are pure, but then a few weeks in, you look at your CSS and it's a mess. It happens to the best of us. And that's exactly the challenge we're going to dig into today. Seriously, how do we do it? How do we build these beautiful, consistent UIs that look amazing, but without creating this tangled web of custom CSS that nobody wants to touch 6 months down the line? It's the million-dollar question, and honestly, it's the puzzle that has pushed the entire world of front-end development forward for years. So that's what this is all about. We're going to go on a little journey. Think of it like a story, an evolutionary tale of styling tools. The cool part is, we're not here to crown a winner or tell you what the best tool is. Nope. We're just going to see how each new idea was basically born to fix the problems of the one that came before it. Okay, let's start the clock. Act 1, the kingdom of components. This is where our story really kicks off. You have to imagine a time before this, a bit of a Wild West for UI development. This was the first big wave that tried to bring some much-needed order and, frankly, some sanity to the chaos. And the big idea here was, you guessed it, the component library. It's actually a pretty simple concept when you think about it. It's like having a giant box of professional-grade Legos for your app. Just grab a button, a modal, a form input. They're all pre-built and ready to go. The classic example that everyone knows is Material UI, right? The whole library is built to give you Google's Material Design right out of the box. And let me tell you, the promise was huge. It was a game changer. Think about it. Instead of wasting weeks building a complex date picker from scratch, and we've all been there, you could just import one. Done. This meant we could ship products way faster, our apps looked polished by default, and it made working with other people like designers or back-end devs so much smoother because everyone was working from the same playbook. And it's not just about the code. It's about trust and stability. I mean, look at this quote from the Material UI docs. They've been around since 2014, and they're in this for the long haul. That's so important. When you pick a library like this, you're not just getting a bunch of components. You're buying into a whole ecosystem. You get a massive community, tons of support, and the peace of mind that comes from knowing it's been battle-tested by thousands of companies.
But there's always a but, isn't there? Here's the catch. What happens when your designer comes along and says, hey, can we make that button just a little bit different? Suddenly, you're not saving time anymore. You find yourself fighting the library, writing these messy CSS overrides with ampersand important everywhere, and wrapping components in other components. It creates this friction. And that constant struggle for control, well, that's what set the stage for a full-blown rebellion.
And that friction we were just talking about, it lit a match. Welcome to Act 2, the utility-first rebellion. This was a radical shift. A whole new way of thinking that basically took the rulebook of CSS best practices and, well, threw it out the window. And the leader of this rebellion? A little something called Tailwind CSS. I absolutely love this quote from the Tailwind docs. They don't shy away from it at all. They just own it. They know their approach looks kind of crazy at first. It completely goes against that whole separation of concerns idea. You know, HTML for structure, CSS for style, that was hammered into our heads for so long. And yeah, this giant string of classes is exactly why. For a lot of developers, their first reaction is just, ugh, it looks ugly, it feels wrong. But this is the heart and soul of the utility-first philosophy. Instead of one big class name, like card, you're building the card style piece by piece, using these tiny single-purpose classes right there in your HTML. P6 just adds padding. Rounded XL just rounds the corners. That's it. Each class does one tiny thing perfectly. So what's the payoff for all that ugliness? Well, this is where the magic happens. Hiding inside that chaos is a developer experience superpower. I'm serious. You completely stop wasting brainpower trying to come up with clever class names. Making changes feels so much safer because you know you're only changing one specific element. And maybe the best part? Your final CSS file is tiny because you're just reusing the same handful of utility classes over and over again. Okay, but a lot of people see this and go, wait a minute. Isn't this just inline styles with extra steps? And that's a fair question. But no, it's way more powerful. The biggest difference is that utility classes work within a design system. You're not just picking random magic numbers. You're using predefined values from your theme, which keeps everything consistent. And this is huge. They support things like hover states, focus states, and responsive design right out of the box. You just can't do that with inline styles. So now we've got these two very different, almost opposing camps, right? On one side, you have the structured all-in-one world of component libraries. On the other, the super flexible build-it-yourself world of utility classes. The natural next question is, what if you could have the best of both? And that brings us to Act 3, the synthesis. And boom, here it is. This one line from the shadcn/UI docs is the entire aha moment. This is not a component library. It is how you build your component library. Just let that sink in. The whole philosophy shifts. It's not about handing you a locked-down black box of components anymore. It's about giving you the raw ingredients and the recipe to build your own perfect component library. So how does that actually work? This is the crucial part. You don't npm install a package from a third party. Instead, you pop open your terminal and run a command. This CLI tool literally copies the source code for a component, the real React file, the Tailwind classes, everything, and drops it right into your project. And from that second forward, it's yours. You own the code. The day-to-day workflow is just completely different. Let's say you need a new button. You run one command in your terminal. Poof, a brand new button.tsx file shows up in your components folder. Now what if you don't like the padding on it? No problem. You just open the file and change a few Tailwind classes. That's it. No more fighting with overrides, no more weird wrapper components. You're just editing your own code. This whole approach, which a lot of people call headless UI, is based on some really smart principles. You get awesome-looking components right from the start, but since you have the code, you can change anything you want. You get total control. This helps you avoid that NPM dependency nightmare and makes the whole project easier to maintain long-term. And here's a really cool forward-thinking bonus. It's AI-ready. Since an AI can actually read the plain source code in your project, it can help you refactor and improve your UI in ways that are just impossible with a traditional closed-off library. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground. We've gone from the kingdom of pre-built components through the utility-first rebellion and landed in this new world of composable code. So that brings us to the big finale. How do you choose? And really, it's not about which tool is the best. It's about deciding which philosophy fits you, your team, and your project. Let's just boil it all down. With something like Material UI, you're using pre-built components, and you customize them by overriding their styles. With Tailwind, you're building everything from the ground up with tiny utility building blocks. And with a tool like shadcn/UI, you start with beautifully crafted source code that you can then edit however you want. It's a fundamental shift in mindset, from renting your UI to owning it. And so that's the question I want to leave you with. Imagine your next project kicks off tomorrow. After hearing all this, what's your first move? Are you going to reach for the stability and all-in-one nature of a traditional library? Do you want the raw power and speed of a utility framework? Or are you ready to embrace this new world of owning your components from day one by using a CLI? It's a fascinating choice to have, isn't it?